I am a psychotherapist as Melanie is, as Wendy is here, but I would say we all have our different specialties. So mine happen to be internal family systems and brain spotting. So it's all kind of in conjunction with talk therapy. But they kind of help when people feel stuck and feel like they're not really getting anywhere with talk therapy. These two modalities are kind of known as depth work. So you're getting just a little more vulnerable and maybe getting a little more bang for your buck as far as processing, previous traumas, really stuck feelings, beliefs, and that kind of thing. Um, and I'm happy to go into specifics about each one. To be in a session with me, it's you're going to definitely experience talk therapy, and we're going to talk through everything, but I might jump or talk to you or suggest using these different modalities. So when you think about therapy and what you see as therapy on TV or in the movies, it's just people sitting and talking to each other a lot of the time. Some of this work involves less talking, less maybe less back and forth conversation, or much more guided prompting. So with internal family systems, I can start with that. The concept is that we all have and are made up of many different parts, and all of those parts of us are working for the greater good of who we are. But sometimes these parts they all have the best interest at heart, but have different ways of doing things that might kind of mess up the other ways. So if you think about like someone's family, a big family, it's kind of the same concept in that we all mean well, but sometimes we do things that don't please the other ones and can cause dysfunction. So the idea is that we kind of have that within ourselves too. So if I'm doing IFS therapy with you, we're working on identifying our different parts and tackling one at a time, and then really getting to know one part at a time and getting really curious about it. So that can look different because I'm asking specific questions that normal talk therapy doesn't always have. Um, and then with brain spotting, that is, I know you were saying it's not something that you had heard about before, and I would say IFS is something that's kind of like up and coming. A lot of people are trying to use it. A lot of people know about it now. It's kind of trendy for a reason. It's really cool. But brain spotting is as well. It's kind of, I think it's coming up there in popularity if it's not there yet. Just maybe a lot of people don't know about it, but it's basically the idea that different eye positions are um, time capsules to different thoughts and feelings and beliefs. So if you've noticed, even when I'm talking right now and I start talking about different things, my eyes are traveling over here. Or when I was talking about IFS, maybe I'm looking this way. The idea is that these are kind of connected to different parts of our brain. So using brain spotting, so a focal point, you're getting to use different neural pathways, and it just kind of adds a little boost to the processing you're already doing. And that is something that can involve talking or might not involve talking. Um, it involves just more somatic work, more body work, being aware of what's happening within us physically in order to achieve our goal. So, to jump right in or do this sort of therapy after being in for a while, it can really go either way. I actually find sometimes it can be easier if you're new to therapy or new to our therapeutic relationship to start one of these things, because otherwise you might be so used to doing things a different way that it is hard to switch into that mode. And it's very much like it feels when I'm doing this sort of work with clients I've had for a really long time, who maybe started with me when they were doing talk therapy. We kind of have to switch gears and talk more about it. And it's an adjustment. One thing that is a benefit of starting this when you already have that connection with me is that it's very easy to be vulnerable right away. And I'd say one of the things that's most important to me as a therapist is that my client is comfortable, because if they're not comfortable with me, they're not going to allow themselves to be vulnerable. And then all of these things I'm doing are going to just be a little bit more challenging. It might take a little more time. So being comfortable with me, that's where I start out. I want you to feel like you can sit in a room with me and have a conversation and not feel judged. So it could go either way. I think there's pros and cons to both. I think regardless of certifications, which there are, and I'm working towards, the important thing is as a therapist, you are continuing to practice. You are continuing to receive peer supervision, so consulting on all of my cases, just to make sure that I'm, getting more than one opinion and I'm getting a different perspective on things. But yes, I would say these particular modalities that I'm doing definitely involve, and for me has involved, extensive training. And I love that my clients are kind of like along for the ride. If I'm saying, oh, like this is something that, I'm learning more about and I would like to try it with you. How do you feel? Like they're game 99% of the time. And so they're helping me too. I see so many different kinds of clients that I've seen so many different changes. I think it's really cool when you come across someone who has had some sort of traumatic experience, whether it was recent, whether it was something from their childhood they've been holding on to for a really long time. Maybe they've tried talk therapy before and it wasn't the right fit. But what people will see is that by trying these different types of therapies and just feeling comfortable enough to do so, that they can come to peace with it. And as a result, things in their life can be better. Work can be better. Their relationships are certainly better. They're just enjoying their lives more. They want to go out and do things. They want to socialize. If they're teenagers, maybe they're finally raising their hand to ask for help in school or meeting with some friends. Parents feel like they're more present with their kids and are feeling like they're doing the right thing by them. So I would say I've seen a lot of different changes, but the one the one thing that's most important to me is that each person is finding some sort of value, some sort of healing. Common misconceptions. I feel like there can be so many, especially when I start talking about IFS and brain spotting. I'd say one of the things that people may worry about with this sort of stuff is that they will not be in control of themselves and what they're doing or what they're saying. And you are always in control. And I'm also, as a trauma informed therapist, always making sure that you still have your own autonomy. So, when people are concerned about what the therapy is going to do to them, I'm also assuring them I'm very much aware of taking it at the pace that they would like to go. And that will be best for them and will not make them feel worse. The goal is to feel better. Um, I would say that's really one of the misconceptions that comes up the most. And aside from that, I'd say a misconception can be that we don't think about you guys when we're done working for the day, and that's not true either. I think about my clients all the time, and come across things, if I'm reading something, if I'm looking at something, if I'm having a conversation with someone, in the back of my mind I might be like, oh, this is something that sounds like it would be really good for so and so, I'm going to like tell them about it next time, or something like that. So at least for me, when I agree to work with someone, I'm letting them enter into my inner orbit in my head, to help me help them. So before I was at Body Positive Works, I had my own practice for 10 years. And I never thought that I would leave my own place to go work at a group. And then I came in here. I think I was originally just looking to rent office space or doing like a meet and greet with Melanie. But when I came in here, I was like, okay, if I was going to work somewhere else, this would be it. And I think the special thing about it is not just the feeling you get when you walk in and you're immediately comfortable and everyone's so warm and inviting, but one of the things I love as someone who obviously likes to use alternative modalities is that there's so many of them in one building. So if I have someone who clearly would benefit from Reiki or acupuncture or somatic yoga therapy, I can say, "Oh, we have that right here. Like, are you interested in that? Because I can just set you up. I'll have Melanie set you up." And that's so much easier than what it would be before, where it's like, "Oh, I'll get you a list of referrals and go ahead and if you want to make a call, make the call." It's just a very seamless transition.